mass execution. When African blood the ground a run, cutting sugar cane all day fi make you white rum. Because we want reparation. Everything we want to why and I blood, sweat and tears, African sacrifice. Want reparation.
I think the principle, the idea of reparations are not new to anybody. Ever since there has been injury, there has been the need of repair. Whether it was human injury, whether it was injury to society or institutionally, there has always been the understanding that amends need to be made when there has been the impairment of humanity. And so the acronym ACRRA, or ACRA, represents the African Caribbean Reparations and Resettlement Alliance, an initiative based in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, former Danish West Indies, of which I am the founder of. Reparations in the African diaspora in the 21st century will accomplish the same, if not more, than what the civil rights movement of the 20th century accomplished for African Americans in the United States. And so the reparations movement of African descendants in this diaspora is not to be taken lightly at all. And we can find it gaining great momentum and making great accomplishments and strides all over the diaspora. We can find that in the year 2004 in the state of Illinois in the United States, the former governor Rod Blagojevich, even though he is now involved in all kinds of turmoil, but he is responsible for having passed into law or signed into law a piece of legislation which requires all corporations seeking to do business in the state of Illinois and having ties to the slavery era to disclose that information. These slavery era corporations' laws are directly tied to the reparations movement. We can find subsequently that these laws were enacted and passed in states all throughout America, in California, and I believe in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and several other states which escape me right now. But this law passed in Chicago in 2004. In June of 2010, had an effect on UBS Bank in Switzerland, in Zurich. And they were made, if they intended to continue doing business in the state of Illinois, they were made to disclose their slavery ties. And my good friend, Mr. Hans Fessler, for some time there in Zurich, has been working very hard to get UBS to disclose these records because they show that in the year 1733, that the Danish crown was able to procure a loan from UBS or its predecessor corporations for the funding of a number of plantations on the island of St. Croix. And so you can see that there is a very well-connected and active network that crosses the Atlantic that are focused on making these repairs. But I think that education and information, awareness, restoration and reconciliation are fundamental when we discuss reparations.
Stole I inheritance and gave I perverted governance. We want reparation. Repair to return to mama. And I want the reparation.
It is very insulting, insensitive also to seek to place a price tag on our humanity, on the inhumanity of those who are seeking reparations. And so when we talk about reparations, we're not talking about money in the context of the Virgin Islands. Our people today in the former Danish West Indies are not entrepreneurs and business owners in any great number. For the most part, they remain disenfranchised and depraved, whether it be in the areas of education and healthcare and employment. Poverty is at 34.5%, higher than that of the third world country, Ghana. And so you have to understand that to deposit any large amount of cash into the Virgin Islands economy, although it may easily absolve Denmark or any European colonial or slave master nation of guilt and be an easy approach to reparations, in my opinion and in the opinion of the Virgin Islands or position of the Virgin Islands reparations movement, it would do more to further destroy my people. The money would not circulate even one time, not even once. When we import everything from toothpicks and tea bags to trucks and tables and t-shirts, that money would end up very quickly in the United States. It would end up in Palestine. It would end up in Puerto Rico. It would end up in other places and would do nothing to further the repair of my people. It would not contribute to the development of educational institutions. It would not better their health. It would not create jobs or employment. And so that is not a debate or an argument that I will take part in as far as money and reparations are concerned. Repair has to do with and reparation specifically has to do with addressing the humanity that has been impaired by more than 250 years, the Danish institution of colonization, and the 175 concurrent years of the Danish institution of African chattel slavery. And we'll address that programmatically and through institutions and initiatives. I think that the matter of an excuse or an apology, that is something that is to be debated here in Denmark amongst the Danish people and Danish elected officials or politicians. That is not a matter for us in the Danish West Indies, the now U.S. Virgin Islands. We are more interested and concerned with the programs and with the concrete initiatives. I am more interested in the collective Danish conscience and consciousness and what that might bring about when we factor in now 250 years of shared history in St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, Danish history. So the matter of financial compensation, we know, is an insult to our humanity, even to bring up that debate. We were not brought to the Danish West Indies for money. Our humanity has been impaired, and we have been oppressed by that history. And so when we discuss reparations, we are talking about programs and initiatives. We're talking about education. We're talking about the archives. We're talking about the repatriation of that more than 250 years of history that is documented here in Denmark that we have no access to except to save for years, and to come to Denmark to try to research and understand Gothic Danish and ancient Danish, and just to find out what our ancestral culture was, or to find out historically what might have been our name or the place where we descend from. What is our ancestral or indigenous country? What was our historical diet? You know, where are our institutions of higher learning? And I mean, how were we disconnected from our treaties and our governments and our people? And what is our story? And so to talk about this in the context of money is very improper. We've got to talk about it, taking an extended look about how humanity can be repaired once it has been injured by governments.
The conquistadors came and slaughtered my great-grandparents, they hanged and tortured. Manpower for the gun was the trade.
It's difficult to say. You know, I think that perhaps you or anybody else here in Denmark might be a more appropriate one to ask. I know what the needs are. I know what the injury has been. Again, I'm very interested in opening a dialogue here in Denmark with respect to reparations and repair of this humanity. And perhaps that may also equal some very concrete initiatives in addressing the society and the socio-political or socio-economic situation there, which are all directly and intrinsically connected to Danish colonization and the fact that they have circumvented, the Danish state has circumvented its responsibility to decolonize. You know, it just sold to people. But there are needs. I mean, there are needs certainly in the areas of education and healthcare. There are needs in the areas of energy and infrastructure, technology. I think that there are many things that can come about from cultural and educational exchange between young people as well. And so it is not for me as an individual or even as the representation of an organization or institution to decide or to determine what reparations or what form repair may take. I am here to inspire the dialogue and the discussion. I am here to open the debate. Let us now talk about it. Let us reason. We have 250 years of shared history. It is unthinkable that in the 21st century, as the world globalizes and everybody gets closer and the world gets smaller, that we cannot talk. We've got 250 years of shared history, and so it should be easy, just like you and I are sitting at the table having this conversation. It should be easy for the diplomats and for the NGOs and for the institutional heads and political leaders to sit down and have this discussion.